Greetings, kind and gentle viewer. I'm your humble reviewer monkey, Mikie Lavery, and this is another installment of Mikie Reviews. This time around, I'll be taking a look at the work of one Paul Greengrass, who began his career making documentaries for the BBC show Word in Action, one of which included a documentary about the legendary rock group U2. And he then went on to do a movie called Resurrected. This is the true story of a British soldier played by David Thewlis, who's left behind in the Falkland Islands after the War of Argentina. He travels on a journey from the Falkland Islands to his army barracks in England, where he's severely beaten and ostracised by his fellow soldiers. He continued to work on TV shows such as Cutting Edge and other documentary and TV shows, but his big break in Hollywood came when he made his movie Bloody Sunday. This is another story based upon real-life events. The event which this depicts was when British soldiers opened fire on innocent people on the streets of the northern Irish town of Derry. You've probably noticed that I've been glossing over his TV work, but that's because I haven't watched any of it yet, and if I were to give my opinions on it, I feel it'd be like kicking a puppy, i.e. it would make me a fucking asshole to do so. But I have seen the Bourne Supremacy, in which, after escaping the emotion and physical pain he previously encountered in the first movie, Jason Bourne, played by Matt Damon. I don't care if that joke's been run into the damn ground. Anyway, Bourne and his girlfriend Marie begin a new life as far away as possible, but when an assassination attempt on Bourne goes wrong, Bourne must re-enter the life he wanted to leave behind in order to find out the truth of why they are still after him. When people watch his style of directing, a lot of people will scream, "For the love of God, invest in a motherfucking tripod." I fully understand why people don't like this style of direction, and I'm not the biggest fan of shaky cam either. In the vast majority of cases, the only purposes it serves is to make sure I can't see what the fuck is happening on the screen. But in this movie, and indeed all of Greengrass's movies, I find he's one of the few directors who can actually use this style of direction to add a sense of realism to what's being portrayed on the screen. I love this movie. I think the action is great, as is the script. As much as I love this movie, and I really do love this movie, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you check it out. It's not a patch in his follow-up movie, United 93, which was Paul Greengrass' September 11th movie. On September 11th, 2001, two American airlines and two planes belonging to the US airline United Airlines that was flying domestically in the US were hijacked by terrorists. After the collision of the two planes against the World Trade Center and one against the Pentagon, the passengers and crew of United Flight 93 decided to fight back against the four terrorists and take back control of the airplane. There's a scene towards the end of this movie when the crew and passengers aboard the plane give their loved ones one last goodbye. If you can watch this and didn't shed a tear, I have to ask you a question. Are you a member of the board? Although, if you were a member of the board, what would you be doing watching a movie that's so heavy on emotion? But anyway, that's unimportant right now. I really respected that this movie didn't do the typical Hollywood thing of saying that the hijackers were plain and simply evil. It gives the viewer an insight as to why they believed what they were doing was totally justified. I'm fully aware that throughout this little bit of the video I've never said where the terrorists are intending to target, as I don't think it's important to the story. For me, the emotional core of this is how the people, despite knowing that they were going to die, said, "Fuck it, we're not going to let this shit happen. We're not going to let any more people die," and made the ultimate sacrifice and save people that they didn't even know. United 93 is a movie I've only seen once. Not because I thought it was terrible. I mean, have you heard all the praise I've been heaping upon it? No, the reason I can only watch this the once is because it's such an emotionally devastating film to me. Paul Greengrass would step behind the lens to direct the Bourne Ultimatum, his second and last in the Bourne franchise. Bourne is once again brought out of hiding, this time inadvertently by London-based reporter Simon Ross, who's trying to unveil Operation Blackbriar and upgrade the Project Tread to stop. Bourne sets up a meeting with Ross and realises instantly that they're being scanned. Information from the reporter brings out new memory from Bourne's past, and Bourne must finally, ultimately uncover his dark past whilst dodging the company's best efforts to try and eradicate him. I'm sorry, Paul Greengrass and the writer of this film, I cannot buy the fact that the American government will do anything shady. I love action flicks. I love flicks that have shady government conspiracies. Since this had both, guess what? I loved this movie. Sure, if you stop to think of it for 1 nanosecond, the thing falls apart like a clown car. But when I'm watching it, I don't really care, as I'm thoroughly enjoying the thrill ride it takes me on. Even though this is the last time the two would make a Bourne film together, it isn't the last time they would collaborate with one another. The very next movie that Paul Greengrass made was a movie called Green Zone. Following the American invasion of Iraq in 2003, Chief Warrant Officer Rory Miller and his men are charged with finding the so-called weapons of mass destruction whose existence justified America's involvement, according to the Pentagon and their man in Baghdad, Poundstone. Veteran CIA operative Marty tells Miller that there are no weapons. It's a deception to allow the Americans to take over the country and install a puppet leader. Also suspicious of Poundstone is a Wall Street journalist reporter who let slip to Miller that Poundstone told her he had secret talks in Jordan with an important Iraqi codename Magellan, who told him about the weapons. Though now it seems likely that Magellan's true information was to the contrary, so begins a hunt for the truth. But who's playing whom? That sounds like a really intriguing story. So then why is the only thing I can remember about it this?
Hello to Jason Isaacs.
Man alive, that is some epic facefulls right there. The village people would be envious of that shit. However, when all I can remember is the epic facefulls that Jason Isaacs was spouting in this movie, I can't vouch for the movie being all that great. But one movie I can vouch for being brilliant was his follow-up flick, Captain Phillips. Captain Phillips is a multi-layered examination of the 2009 hijacking of an American container ship by acclaimed Somali pirates. The film focuses on the relationship between the Alabama commanding officer Captain Richard Phillips, played by the two-time Academy Award winner Tom Hanks, and the Somali pirate Captain Muse. Anytime I heard the name Muse, all that was going through my head was... Anyway, Phillips and Muse are set in an unstoppable collision course when Muse and his crew target Phillips' unarmed ship. During the hijacking, both men will soon find themselves at the mercy of forces beyond their control. Random story time. Prior to going to see this, I was talking to a buddy of mine. I'm going to Captain Phillips tomorrow. Captain Phillips, isn't that movie about the ship that got kidnapped by the Somalian pirates? The very one. I've been looking forward to seeing it for months. Yeah, they shoot the pirates at the end. Don't know why you're giving me that look. Didn't you follow the story when it was all over the news? No, I didn't know that. You know, you're lucky that I don't have my machete right now, because if I did, you'd be minus a motherfucking head. And despite the fact I knew the ending of this prior to going into it, it still didn't destroy the movie for me. Far from it. I still thought this was an extremely tense piece of cinema, to the point that I had to take a breather halfway through. And everybody's been raving about Tom Hanks' portrayal as Captain Phillips, and there's a reason for that. He puts in a career best performance in this movie. If he's not nominated for an Oscar, there isn't any justice in this world. Same goes for the head of the Somalian pirates, who is a first-time actor, and Sweet Cheesy brings such an intensity to the role. And it doesn't turn Captain Phillips into a saint either. It shows in one scene that he clearly knew that there were pirates operating in the waters, but he went in there anyway. Why? Because human beings all have the capacity for arrogance. We all think that it won't happen to us, or that we know better and all that shit. I love this film. I thought it was well acted, well scripted and all that good shit. If it doesn't get nominated for an Oscar this year, I will eat my goddamn fucking shoe. Anyway, that concludes my look at the work of Paul Greengrass. I hope you enjoyed it, and until the next time...
That's all you get, jerk!